Okay everyone, I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you one of my methods of gaining some of the information I use for these videos. Now, here we have a very popular search engine, Google, and into the search bar we're writing Australia FOI, Freedom of Information, COVID. And then the first result from health.gov.au, that's where we're going, and I think you know what we're going to have a look at. Now, once you click on this link and it takes you to the page in the government website, we're going to click on this first result here, procurement of COVID-19 vaccines. And now we have 4 documents here to download, and from the top it says Vaccine Company Liaisons Meeting between Department and Pfizer. The next one down is Attendee Informal Notes from Meeting, and then we have email correspondence between Department and Pfizer regarding initial stages of development, and then the final one is Letter from Pfizer to Minister Hunt. Alright, I'm going to take you through all this and we're going to start with the emails. Alright, first email, sent Tuesday 30th of June 2020. Letter to Minister Hunt, Pfizer vaccine development for COVID-19. Hi, name redacted. It was really good to catch up last Friday. Thanks for all your time. As discussed, please find attached letter from Pfizer Australia MD, redacted, with some information about Pfizer's vaccine development in response to COVID-19. This includes a request for a formal visual engagement opportunity with members of the vaccine task force to be selected at your discretion. I am able to make senior members of Pfizer's global leadership team available for this discussion, particularly if the minister and/or departmental leadership can be involved, as the vaccine development landscape is moving swiftly, including through engagements with other nations. I am requesting this meeting occur at the earliest opportunity. I am happy to discuss this matter further at any time. Kind regards. And now we'll go on to the next email, and it ends with a acknowledgement of the traditional custodians. And now this email is the reply from Friday the 3rd of July, so a couple of days later. Hi, passed your email and letter to Minister Hunt. I am managing the whole government work on COVID-19 from the Department of Health. I would very much appreciate an opportunity to talk to Pfizer about your vaccine work, both the development and manufacturing activities and plans. I'll ask my EA to get in touch with you and arrange a suitable time. Cheers, Lisa. Alright, now we should have a look at this letter that they sent as well, and here it is. Dear Minister Hunt, thank you for your steadfast leadership during this global health crisis. Pfizer stands in solidarity with all patients around the world and in Australia currently affected by COVID-19, and with the governments, organisations and health professionals working to respond to the pandemic. Pfizer is committed to playing its part and has created a crisis team of our leading virologists, biologists, chemists, clinicians, epidemiologists, vaccine experts, pharmaceutical scientists and other key experts to focus solely on addressing this pandemic. I would like to take this opportunity to provide an overview of our candidate vaccine development and manufacturing program and request a meeting with you to open discussions regarding your planning for potential COVID-19 vaccination programs. Vaccine development. In collaboration with BioNTech, Pfizer is working closely with regulatory authorities to develop, test and manufacture a potential mRNA-based vaccine that, if approved, could be deployed at unprecedented speed for the prevention of COVID-19 infection. We are leveraging our decades of scientific expertise in pioneering vaccine discovery and deployment to respond to this global health crisis. Pfizer and BioNTech are working with regulatory authorities to advance multiple COVID-19 vaccine candidates into human clinical testing, with our R&D program now underway globally. The phase 1 and 2 studies is unique in that it is testing 4 vaccine candidates simultaneously, each representing a unique combination of mRNA format and target antigen. Each of those 4 vaccine candidates is potentially being tested in 3 different doses and 2 different age populations in a single phase 1 and 2 study. The design of the trial allows us to move urgently while preserving the highest quality and safety standards. Vaccine delivery. We are actively scaling up our manufacturing capacity and distribution infrastructure to be ready to bring a candidate vaccine to the world faster than we ever had done before. By doing many steps in the manufacturing process in parallel rather than sequentially, we have the potential to supply millions of vaccine doses by the end of 2020, subject to technical success and regulatory approvals. Then rapidly scale up to produce hundreds of millions of doses in 2021. Vaccines are an important part of the long-term solution for ending this pandemic, and we are committed to bring our deep heritage of vaccine development, remarkable reach and scale, and capital resources to serve the millions of people around the world impacted by this devastating illness. Should our candidate vaccine be successful in clinical trials and receive regulatory approval or emergency use authorization, we want to work with governments as well as other vaccine manufacturers and global bodies to supply the world as quickly as we can. I would welcome an opportunity to discuss our candidate vaccine development in more detail and open discussions on how we might work together to support planning for potential COVID-19 vaccinations in Australia and continue to build a strong partnership for the future. Pfizer's redacted. We'll be in touch to schedule a meeting. I look forward to meeting and working with you in the future. Yours sincerely. Alright, let's go back to the email. So the last one we read was Lisa from the Department of Health replying to Pfizer saying, yeah, I'm pretty much running the show. I gave that letter you sent, that letter I just read to you, to the Minister of Health. Look forward to working with you. And then the response from Pfizer on the 6th of July 2020. Hi Lisa, thanks for your assistance in organising a virtual meeting with you on Friday to discuss Pfizer's approach to the COVID-19 vaccine development and distribution in partner with BioNTech. I have just received guidance from my colleagues in Europe managing this project that in order to provide any level of detail on Pfizer's approach, we need to have a confidential disclosure agreement signed by both parties prior to the meeting. Attached to the CDA, which our global head of vaccines is ready to sign should it meet your approval. If we can get this signed ahead of Friday's meeting, then we will include several senior global Pfizer colleagues on the call to be able to provide the detail you may be seeking on a range of issues. However, these colleagues are all based in Europe and I will need to request a time change to be a bit more suitable to all participants. 10:30 a.m. here is 1:30 a.m. in London. Our 4 p.m. or any time after that usually works best. Alternatively, we are happy to treat this Friday as just an exploratory/introductory meeting without the CDA, in which case it will be limited to my Australian colleagues, including the Manager Director of Pfizer Australia and New Zealand. Your guidance on this will be appreciated. Alright, and then the next email, which is another one from Pfizer on Tuesday the 7th of July 2020. Hi Lisa, following up on the below, plus I have some extra information to add. Once the CDA is signed, we have a lengthy and highly detailed slide deck to run through with you. This goes through the scientific development and clinical trial process underway, medical information on the novel NRA vaccine technology, vaccine manufacturing chains and procurement procedures. As a result, a strong recommendation is for a 90-minute meeting to have sufficient time to get through all the detail and Q&A. Also, we are unable to provide copies of the slide deck, so it must be shared through screen sharing via a screen conferencing link. As mentioned below, I am happy to set that up through WebEx, which is our preferred platform. Please let me know how you would like to proceed. I am on leave tomorrow, but I'll be back on deck Thursday morning. I am assuming a postponement to next week to enable time to review and sign the CDA and find an appropriate time slot is most likely, but my local colleagues are keeping 10:30 a.m. Friday free nonetheless. I have CC'd redacted with whom I spoke yesterday as she expressed interest to join the call, which is of course fine with us. Thanks, I look forward to hearing from you. Kind regards. Alright, and then we have a reply to Pfizer from Lisa on Wednesday. It says, hi, we are considering the CDA. It is not usual practice for the Commonwealth to sign such documents, as we are covered by various legislative requirements to keep information gained through our employment confidential. I would like to propose that we keep the slot on Friday morning and have the introductory exploratory discussion you suggest. We can always line up subsequent ones as needed. Alright, and now we'll have a look at the attendees' informal notes of the meeting, and I won't read it out because as you can see it's just a bunch of points that the person took. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't make too much sense, and a lot of it sort of seems like stuff that was said in the letter sent to Minister Hunt. And now moving on to the last email. Okay, so the meeting was on the 10th of July, and according to this document there were no more emails until the 23rd of July, and this is what it says. Hi Lisa, I just wanted to give you a heads up that Pfizer has been approached by trade media with an inquiry regarding engagement with the government on COVID vaccine procurement and manufacturing. In response, we have provided the following statement attributed to a spokesperson for Pfizer. Pfizer is committed to bringing a vaccine to all who need it to help meet the global public health need. Should our vaccine be successful in clinical trials and receive regulatory approval, we will work closely with governments and other vaccine manufacturers to supply the world as quickly as we can together. Discussions with governments remain confidential. Please let me know if you have any queries on this. Also, I assume you have seen the recent Pfizer agreements with the UK and the US on vaccine supplies. It seems that both our legal representatives are close to resolving a few outstanding issues with the CDA. I look forward to scheduling another meeting with you to process our discussion once it is signed. Kind regards. And now that's the last email in that document. And now the final document I would like to show you is the vaccine company liaison, and it's from the 11th of September 2020. And now I won't read this whole thing to you because it's 10 pages, but I will point out some interesting / important things I've noticed. Here, where it says in like the fourth box down, contact made, there's the box crossed out next to company reached out. And now, even though I showed you how to get to this site by searching for it, I will also include links in the description box below. And I just want to point out that this communications between the company and the government, this is September. They signed a deal to get vaccines in November, 2 months later after this communication. We signed a deal in November where here, it even says on this, Canada put an order in August. Japan, the US and the UK all put orders in July. In Australia, we thought we'd put all our eggs in one basket until November. And now the other reason why I'm showing you this final document, other than I want to show my audience as much information as I possibly can on the topic we're discussing, I also want you to be able to compare the information that we have access to in regards to the Department of Health dealing with Pfizer. I want you to be able to compare how that was handled compared to how they handled it with AstraZeneca. Like, just look how detailed this timeline is of the achievements of the company and the progress of their vaccine development. And in the letter, how they mentioned that they're working on 4 different vaccine candidates. I want you to keep all of that in the back of your mind. Now I have another document I would like to show you. Now notice this other link, COVID-19 vaccine agreement with AstraZeneca. And now it has just one document to download, and it is titled AstraZeneca Letter of Intent. Now I have to read this to you. Letter of Intent, principles of cooperation between the Australian government and AstraZeneca in relation to the University of Oxford COVID-19 vaccine candidate. Context. 1. The World Health Organization has declared that there is currently a global pandemic due to the spread of COVID-19 causing a public health crisis globally and in Australia. 2. The Australian government has reacted swiftly and effectively in response to the COVID-19 crisis and has been a leader in the international community. 3. Securing early access to a safe and effective vaccine against COVID-19 for the whole of the population is a key priority for the Australian government. 4. To foster cooperation between the Australian government and AstraZeneca, the parties, in relation to vaccine development, production and access, the parties wish to sign this letter as a record to their mutual intentions, letter of intent. Purpose. 5. The parties each want to see the development, production and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine candidate currently under clinical development by the University of Oxford, and should it prove successful, commit to take all steps possible to make the vaccine available in Australia to advance and improve public health. 6. Having regard to the nature of a global pandemic crisis requiring immediate action, A. AstraZeneca recognises the urgent need to apply efforts towards swift and uninterrupted development of a safe vaccine, and the Australian government recognises the possibility that the development of a safe vaccine is yet unknown and may not be possible. Principles of cooperation. 7. Subject to a party's internal approvals and the availability of its resources, the parties intend for the duration of this letter of intent: A. To cooperate in the ongoing development of a vaccine, including discussions and considerations of next steps to complete all stages in the vaccine development cycle. B. To work expeditiously and swiftly together to achieve broad and equitable access to the University of Oxford COVID-19 vaccine candidate at the first possible opportunity, should the vaccine prove successful, safe and effective. C. To conclude appropriate purchasing, indemnity and other contractual arrangements between them relating to the development, production and distribution of the vaccine in Australia, including arrangements with a select Australian contract manufacturer to maximise and deliver early and equitable whole of population access to the vaccine in Australia. D. Where a vaccine has been successfully developed to meet increasing demand for vaccine productivity by increasing manufacturing and supply capacity in every way reasonably practical, including throughout the Australian contract manufacturing arrangement. And E. To share information, advice and expertise as appropriate to facilitate the above activities, where a party considers any information it proposes to share with the other party to be confidential in nature. The relevant party may require that the party enters into a legally binding confidentiality agreement before sharing the relevant information. 8. All of the above cooperation activities are intended to be conducted having regard to the Australian laws and regulations. Status of this letter. 9. This letter intends to serve as a record of the principles of cooperation between the parties and is not legally binding. 10. Any legally binding commitments or obligations are to be set out in separate, definitive binding agreements to be negotiated, agreed and signed between the parties. Duration. 11. This letter of intent is intended to end on the 1st of July 2021, unless a party wishes to end it sooner by giving reasonable prior written notice to the other party, or the parties enter into a definitive binding agreement in relation to the COVID-19 vaccine candidate. 12. The parties may extend the term of this letter of intent by way of written variation signed by both parties. Yours sincerely, Greg Hunt, on behalf of the Australian Government. The 18th of August 2020. Now I'm really excited to see what comparisons members of the audience think are really interesting. Now I'll tell you some of mine. I reckon it was really interesting how Pfizer approached Australia and had a very impressive and very organised process and was really eager and positive about it that they were going to get results. And you compare that to the letter of intent where it even says, and I quote, "The Australian government recognises the possibility that the development of a safe vaccine is yet unknown and may not be possible." Oh, and we have to compare the email on the 8th of July from Lisa to Pfizer where it says, "We are considering the CDA. It is not usual practice for the Commonwealth to sign such documents as we are covered by various legislative requirements to keep information gained through our employment confidential." A staffer emailing Pfizer compared to the letter of intent between AstraZeneca and the Minister for Health, where it says, and I quote, "Where a party considers any information it proposes to share with the other party to be of a confidential nature, the relevant party may require that the parties enter into a legally binding confidentiality agreement before sharing the relevant information." And this was August 2020. And so in July, you have staffers talking to Pfizer and saying, "Oh, that's not what we're used to doing around here. We're covered by our laws and whatever." A couple months later, you have the Minister for Health talking to AstraZeneca. "Oh yeah, you should probably start a confidentiality agreement." Alright, final thoughts. This by itself is really pathetic. This is piss poor. And then you add on top how everything went with the vaccine options we had in Australia. It's pretty much criminal. I don't know how anyone involved with this could show their face in public, seriously. Now I'm going to leave this video here. Look forward to your comments. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe.